Welcome back to the Bald Guys of Bankruptcy. Rich, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
All right.
We're going to give an update on the Stoli bankruptcy. Now, this is a video that we initially did a while ago. So you want to just give us like a 30-second recap of what we went over previously to get everyone up to speed?
Sure. I think in order to pick up where the case is now, we should just take a few steps back, discuss the reasons why they filed. Decreased demand led to a lot of financial issues with them, a lot of competition in the alcohol market, obviously. Some weird issues with the Russian government where many years ago they tried to take over a couple of Stoli's trademarks. They took over a couple of their distilleries as well, which is never good for business if you can't get your product out. And they had this ransomware attack that really hurt their bottom line. So all of these things sort of led them to the position where they're in, filed bankruptcy, try to reorganize.
And to be clear, the bankruptcy that was filed, the debtor is the American arm of Stoli that's distributing Stoli in America?
That's correct, Stoli Group USA.
What's the most recent update?
Well, they're trying to get a plan confirmed. They haven't been able to do that yet. There have been several motions for use of cash collateral. What that means is, they're trying to operate their business, and until there's a plan, which is basically the structure of the case, this is how it's going to work, right? This is the final say. They can't just operate unfettered. They need court approval to have a budget, to maintain that budget. If there's ever a change in their budget, they need to come back to the court and seek approval for any changes they need to that budget. And that's happened quite a bit in this case. There have been several motions filed by the debtor to approve a new budget. In many instances, they've actually worked with their largest secured creditor, which in this case is Fifth Third Bank. They've worked with them to sort of stipulate the terms. It's just easier that way because if you're going to litigate everything, the costs are going to skyrocket. Actually, they just agreed on their 14th stipulation for use of cash collateral, so that's a lot.
They're not looking to sell the company. They're looking to find a way to survive.
Right, they're trying to exit, they're trying to get a confirmed plan and continue to operate. Yeah, there's no sale here.
If you're Fifth Third Bank, right, because you're saying there's been 14 different stipulations, I think when you hear that, the first thing you think to yourself is, the bank wants to get paid back. Like, why do they continue to negotiate? Why not just push forward? What's kind of interesting here with the structure of the company, it's heavily dependent upon their parent company in Russia, and it's one company, right? Are they working with other alcohol brands, or it's really just Stoli?
No, it's just Stoli. They also own a bourbon brand, Kentucky Owl, and that actually comes into play in this case a little bit because in their most recent proposed plan, they offer to pretty much give all of their whole supply of bourbon barrels to Fifth Third. It's like 35,000 barrels. And that was in their plan, and the judge looked at it and said, actually the value of these barrels is somewhat uncertain. He felt the debtor was overvaluing it, obviously, which makes sense. And apparently the bourbon market is pretty much under pressure right now with this oversupply. So the value of what they had to offer was lower than expected. So the plan was deemed not feasible, and it was denied by the judge.
Do they own Kentucky Owl Bourbon, or they're distributing for them?
They own that. It's
got to be hard to get another entity to purchase the distribution arm of Stoli.
I would imagine that's why they're working with them.
Right.
They've negotiated on these stipulations for cash collateral, and actually, they're working with the debtor now for new terms for a new plan. They're exchanging term sheets, and I think they'll be able to settle on a deal. It sounds like they're both willing to kind of meet in the middle. We'll see what happens. There's a status conference set, I think, for later this week, so we'll see what happens there. I expect another plan to be filed. I would expect the next plan to be filed to have a high degree of certainty that it'll be confirmed if the parties are working on terms right now.
Is the Russian Stoli company involved in this bankruptcy?
Not that I can tell. I haven't seen much involvement within the case. If something's going on behind the scenes, I'm not sure. It would make sense that they would be somewhat involved. I'm not sure how it directly impacts them.
You would think that if this company fails, what are their assets? Their assets are a contract with Stoli in Russia. They might have hard assets. They might have like a distribution center, but their value to the world is that they have a deal with the Stoli Russia company to get the Stoli to America. Like if Stoli in Russia fails, this company just fails. It's a one product distribution company because you would think like the Stoli, the Russian company, they either would want to buy the company to protect their American distribution, or if they're not interested, then the company is basically worthless because they could probably get another company to do distribution for them.
No, they could. I think that's why we see Fifth Third working with the debtor. There aren't a lot of options. And if they can make it work with this debtor. But they might not recoup everything that they're owed, but if they can get a vast majority of it, they're willing to work with them, and it makes sense. If it fails, I don't know where they turn.
Have you seen anything in the bankruptcy where Fifth Third is looking for some reassurances from the Russian company that this, like, a contract's going to be renewed, or that, like, exclusivity would remain with the American Stoli company?
I haven't seen that, no. There are thousands of docket entries, so it's possible I didn't catch it. But I haven't seen that outright. It doesn't mean it's not happening. I
would think if I was Fifth Third, if I was representing Fifth Third, I would basically say, like, before I get into negotiations, I really have to know how involved the Russian Stoli company is going to be. Because if I extend terms of this debt now and the Russian Stoli company backs off in a year, then we're right back here.
Based on the history and the involvement with the Russian government, I don't know how much they can rely on what they hear.
Even if that company says they're going to continue working with this company, the Russian government takes it over or restricts their ability to make good on their contracts, you have a massive set of problems.
There's some trust issues there that I'm sure are coming into play.
All right, Rich, thank you. Interesting stuff. We'll continue to track and hopefully talk about this again if there's another update.
We'll track it, and I'll bring product next time.
Cool.
Thanks for coming back and watching the Bald Guys of Bankruptcy. We'll see you next time.
Bald Guys, Bald Guys, Bald Guys of Bankruptcy. Bald Guys, Bald Guys, Bald Guys of Bankruptcy.